year. Free, free,
Palestine!
free, free,
Palestine!
free, free,
Palestine!
Kia ora tātou. Kia ora, thank you, Father Liam. Can we please welcome Hamad Fawaz for the recitation of the Quran?
Assalamu alaikum. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والسماء ذات البروج واليوم الموعود وشاهد ومشهود قتل أصحاب الأخدود النار ذات الوقود إذ هم عليها قعود وهم على ما يفعلون بالمؤمنين شهود وما نقموا منهم إلا أن يؤمنوا بالله العزيز الحميد الذي له ملك السماوات والأرض والله على كل شيء شهيد إن الذين فتنوا المؤمنين والمؤمنات ثم لم يتوبوا فلهم عذاب جهنم ولهم عذاب الحريق إن بطش ربك لشديد إنه هو يبدئ ويعيد وهو الغفور الودود ذو العرش المجيد فعال لما يريد هل أتاك حديث الجنود فرعون وثمود بل الذين كفروا في تكذيب والله من ورائهم محيط بل هو قرآن مجيد في لوح محفوظ صدق الله العظيم.
Now we'll have the national anthem for Palestine. Please rise if you are able to. Before we start with our rally, I would like to acknowledge the metaphylaria of this land and the hikoi that is happening across Aotearoa. This is a historic moment in Aotearoa, and we will continue to stand stand in solidarity with our Maori whānau. Toi tu te tiriti! Toi tu te tiriti! Toi tu te tiriti! We are here today to rally against ASB's complicity in investing and supporting the illegal Israeli military and settlements. They provide telecommunication surveillance and military technology to the Israeli occupation. Shame! ASB Bank is one of the largest kiwi saver providers in Aotearoa. They hold $14 million of investments in Motorola solutions. Shame! With the collective power of our people, we can force ASB to divest from Motorola solutions. We're going to put the pressure on ASB to divest, and if they don't, by the 29th of November, people that bank with ASB will switch banks to other providers. We're going to begin our rally by a brief from Hiba Taja. She'll be providing updates on Palestine and Lebanon. Please welcome Hiba. It has been 406 days of genocide on Gaza. 406 days! Shame! Israel has killed more than 43,000 people, including more than 16,000 children, injuring more than 103,000 people, and more than 10,000 are still reported missing. Shame! In the occupied West Bank, at least 784 people have been killed, including at least 167 children, injuring more than 6,250 people as well. Shame! The north of Gaza is the center of a renewed Israeli offensive that over the past 5 weeks has unleashed some of the Israeli military's most devastating attacks yet. In an effort to stamp out the military has called a Hamas resurgence, troops, tanks, and armed drones have targeted the area almost daily, displacing more than 100,000 residents and killing likely more than 1,000 people as well. Shame! Islam Ahmed, a 34-year-old freelance journalist from North Gaza, has said, "Life over the past 4 weeks, if I can sum it up, is a people being exterminated. Shame!" Hussam Sharif, 46, a father of 4 in Jabalia, said that at the start of the latest siege, help was available. Now he said people with even minor injuries will bleed until they die. Shame! Hospitals are also teetering, leaving many treatable patients to die. On October 30th, Dr. Hussam Abu Safia, the director of Kamal Adwan Hospital in Jabalia, issued an urgent plea saying that the hospital lacked surgeons but had multiple victims needing surgery. Over the next 5 days, the hospital was bombed at least 3 times, according to the director, Dr. Abu Safia. Shame! Lebanon has also faced significant escalations in the past few months. Israeli airstrikes flattened 5 buildings in the Lebanese capital's southern suburbs on Friday. One of them was located near one of Beirut's busiest traffic junctions. The Israeli military had issued 2 forced evacuation orders before the attacks. Residents are forced to leave their homes only to watch the strikes come in and wonder whether or not they have a home to return to. Shame! The war has killed at least 3,600 people have been killed since October 8, 2023 in Lebanon. though the real number is likely to be higher due to gaps in the data. Shame! While I was writing this brief, I found it very difficult to even find updates on what was actually happening on the ground. It just shows how they're trying to suppress the reality of the situation in Palestine and Lebanon. It's a shame that I even have to search for updates for over 1 year of genocide on these innocent people. However, we can't give up. We are really their only hope. I would like to dedicate a minute of silence for all our martyrs in Palestine, Lebanon, Sudan, and all oppressed people in this world. Thank you. I personally think coming here and saying the brief has to be one of the hardest things we have to do. When we say these numbers, we're talking about our people. Me and Hiba are from Gaza. So we feel a survivor's guilt like no tomorrow, because that could have been us. We could have been in Gaza. Any of us here could have been in Gaza right now. So it's our job to continue fighting for those people. So thank you for coming and thank you for showing up. Our first speaker today is Cole. Cole is a photo and video journalist from Otutahi Christchurch and one of the Kaitiaki of Aotearoa Christians for Peace in Palestine. He recently returned from 2 months on the ground documenting Israeli apartheid on the occupied West Bank. His second visit to Palestine since 2019 and has been sharing his first-hand experiences and footage. Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
1,
We are the people!
2,
We won't be silent!
3.
We are returning
Say it loud, say it clear.
Say it loud, say it clear!
We don't want no Zionists here.
We don't want no Zionists here!
We don't want no Zionists here.
We don't want no Zionists here!
His second visit to Palestine since 2019, and he's been sharing his first-hand experiences and footage across the motor with local communities and particularly churches to inform and engage people in the reality Palestinians are facing. During his time there, he saw the real-world costs of Motorola's complicity and support for the occupation. Please warmly welcome Cole.
Thank you all. It's a privilege to be here to share this with you today. As I said, I'm funny, but I was living here a couple of years ago, so it's a privilege to be back and to see some familiar faces. So I was first privileged to travel to Palestine about 5 years ago in 2019, and even just in that 5-year period, the amount of difference in how much more deeply the occupation has embedded itself within the West Bank and wider field is very, very easy to see. So Motorola's not just deeply complicit, but actively enable the occupation in many ways. As was already mentioned, surveillance and communications are a massive cornerstone of enforcing that control that they have. The first form that this takes is border surveillance. So the massive apartheid rule that in theory should cut around the outskirts of the West Bank, that instead actually cuts through 85% of it being built on Palestinian land and cuts off towns from each other. In 2004, it was ruled as illegal by the world's top court, and yet it has remained there, and Motorola's surveillance technology is what is used to enforce and stop people being able to cross that barrier. One instance of this is in Bethlehem, where you have Palestinian farmers living inside Bethlehem on one side of the wall with the olive groves on the other side. And so what was once a 5-minute journey is now a 3-hour round trip through the checkpoints if they even have the right permits to get through. So Motorola being complicit in that war that has been officially ruled illegal by the world's top court for over 2 decades now is very much a sign of how much they enable this. Next is their general surveillance in areas throughout the West Bank and East Jerusalem and throughout the illegally obtained Israeli territories as well. For instance, in Hebron, the biggest Palestinian city, recently the biggest, it was actually Gaza until within the last year. Hebron, the biggest Palestinian city, has illegal Israeli settlements right in the centre of it, living in the upper levels, throwing their trash down onto Palestinians who live in the lower levels. And in amongst all these streets of the old city, there are checkpoints, and again these checkpoints are surveilled by cameras supplied by Motorola. But not just that. If you make it through these checkpoints to get into Ibrahimi Mosque, which is an incredibly important and sacred site for Islam, for Christianity, and for Judaism, and yet for Palestinians to enter, they have to go through these checkpoints, and if they manage to get through, which is not guaranteed, then inside the mosque, inside the sacred space where they worship, where they have a lot of social times, picnics and weddings, there are cameras inside the mosque. Cameras are built by Avigilon, which is a kind of a subsidiary company of Motorola, inside watching people as they worship. There is also surveillance in East Jerusalem, for one example, in the Bustan neighbourhood near Silwan. There are so many security cameras set up that the region of the neighbours there, the neighbourhood have put up massive paintings on on many of the houses as a form of non-violent creative resistance of these eyes, saying, well, if you're going to watch us, we will watch you back, these beautiful artworks. But the surveillance there is so constant and so embedded everywhere throughout the neighbourhood that many people live there. There are reports of people feeling watched even when they are in their bed at night time. That is how constant the feeling and reality of the occupation's surveillance is. And then we talk about surveillance when it comes to the settlements within the West Bank, these illegal Israeli communities built on stolen Palestinian farmland. Settlement security. Me and a friend were fortunate to go kind of undercover into one of these Israeli settlements and got shown around by one of the guys, and we were shown the settlement security features. What this is fences that are put up that are used to cut off Palestinians from their farmland, drones that are used to surveil local Palestinians as they farm their olive trees or take their sheep out to intimidate those Palestinian farmers. It is literally the arms that is given to these Israeli civilians, not even military, just civilians who are armed, who are settlement security, watchtowers and checkpoints on the entrance to these settlements. But on top of that, again, with Motorola, it is the surveillance and radars that is used to watch the local Palestinian communities that are forced to have these settlements neighbouring their land. For instance, in the settlement we visited, Kane Shomron, they took us to the security room, and it is just 2 walls of screens all around, screens monitoring all the local Palestinian towns, and there sat in the surveillance chair is a 15-year-old Israeli girl, sitting on her phone, occasionally looking up and checking the cameras, and as we were there she saw a Palestinian car do one too many laps around the nearby roundabout. Suspicious, she said, and so she dialed this local group, the armed civilians, to go out and handle the situation. So when we talk about settlement security, and when we talk about Motorola's complicity in that, that is what it looks like. And then the cons as well. And this is what really hit me down in the south of the West Bank in Musafat Yatta, which is a rural farming community. And yet despite it being rural, despite it being farming, it is like living in a dystopian city, because constantly there are Israeli military jeeps and police cars patrolling up on the hillsides or down on the highway. And there are illegal Israeli settlements and outposts smattered amongst the hillsides, cutting off Palestinian towns from each other. And my friend Hamoudi, when I arrived, he welcomed me and he did the classic Palestinian thing. He boiled a cup of tea and he's like, come on bro, have some tea, come up the hill, I'll show you the farm. And so we head up the hill. And within minutes of getting onto his farmland, these two settlement security soldiers came down with their large rifles and they said to him, no, you guys have to go back down the hill, back to your house. And he stood his ground armed with this very dangerous cup of tea and he said, no, this is my land. You need to have a written military order, and they didn't, and so after this tense standoff we kind of continued back around. But the fact that within minutes they were aware that we were there is because they are surveilling the local Palestinian towns. And then on top of that, if you have settler shepherds or just settlers coming across the farmland, and every day this happens in Masafariata, every day there are Israeli civilians armed, protected by Israeli soldiers who are armed, coming onto Palestinian farmland, abusing and harassing the residents. And when the residents call the Israeli police to deal with it, the military turn up and they ignore these illegal Israeli settlers who are harassing the Palestinians, and instead they find a reason to arrest the Palestinians who are there. And they turn up so quickly, so quickly, and that's again because of the comms that Motorola have provided. A private 4G network that allows for settlement security and settlers to immediately contact them as soon as they need. It's like dial your personal military. It's horrid, and we saw this day after day in Masafariata. So all of these are examples of how Motorola are very, very deeply complicit and an enabler of the occupation and the apartheid in Palestine. ASB absolutely should divest on moral standards alone, but also legally they have an obligation under international law not to be invested in companies that are actively complicit and enabling this illegal occupation and apartheid. But even then, if they won't, then we, the people and the customers of ASB, will make them. And so that is why I really encourage you, if you are a member of ASB, a consumer of theirs, cut those ties, and more people can speak to that better than I can. But thank you very much.
Kia ora, thank you, Cole. Our second speaker today is Te Rangi Claver, is a protest poet and photographer based in Poneke. Her work has earned her an Instagram blog from Immigration Minister Erica Stanford. She'll be sharing a few words and a poem. Please welcome Te Rangi.
Kia ora everyone, ko te rangi ahau, ko ngā te kahununu ki wairoa te iwi. I have a poem, as I am a slam poet, and that is what I do. But I do want to share a little bit first about, to add on to what Cole said about ASB's need to divest from Motorola Solutions. In fact, they had a meeting with the FEC the other day, where they talked about this vague idea of an exclusions framework. And I was very curious to find out what exactly that is. And in the exclusions framework that they are working through in terms of divesting from Motorola, it says two things. The investments must fall under international convention and under the priority of ASB customer needs. I can safely say as an ASB customer that both of those are met when it comes to Motorola's investment in the West Bank. And Victoria Short is not abiding by international law, and if anything treats it as, in her words, an additive to ASB's inputs. So I wanted to start with that, and I will continue with a poem I wrote a few months ago, but it unfortunately is still relevant today. This is called The Privilege of Hopelessness. I cannot write anything anymore, I'm screaming. And if screaming into the abyss were poetry, this is the most poetic I've ever been in my life. And a poem can start with being alive, with being thankful for quiet and water, and a roof and a made bed and whānau. Still 6 feet above the ground, but I will allow myself 1 second spent away from turning my art into action. But if Gaza is burning, I know my tears will not put out the flames. 1 year, 407 days of genocide, and we are still at the starting line of irrelevant. When they began the invasion, I called my mother to tell her I love her. I told her I should say it more. That if God forbid the house were ever rippled into rubble, I would rebuild it for her. That her eyes may rest while I am on hand and knee digging my siblings out from the carnage of our lives. I would not let her lose another child. I weep in fear of a reality that I am lucky enough to not have be my own. Instead, my hands hurt. From my attempts to shake sense into shoulders, the blood of children taken before they were given names pulls the streets of Gaza again. I haven't done enough. My words and I are still so small and I am far too quiet. I simply must be louder. As long as the path I walk is not matted with the melted flesh of my friends and my neighbors, I have a duty to human until I no longer can. I can write while my rage pumps blood through my veins, while I still have two hands to wrap around the throats of power, to carve out a future for those who have had theirs ripped away from them. The world has a right to defend Palestine, and so as long as there is breath in my body, I will. They continue to underestimate the rage of this single person. Imagine what they would say when they hear the drums of liberation echo in the chests of everyone on this street, of everyone in the world. Think bigger. When they hear the glowing choir of free Palestinian voices telling us their stories themselves. We know what the colonizer can and will do next. The question is always what our next steps are. We cannot allow for the restoration of white supremacy as it begins to buckle at its knees. Take the time you need to scream for Gaza, for the West Bank, for Sudan, Congo, West Papua, Konaki, Lebanon, and Aotearoa, but we cannot afford the privilege of hopelessness. The price is far too high, and we are not the ones paying it. A poem can start with being alive, and it will end with a free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Kia ora, everyone. Thank you so much. Free Palestine.
That was amazing, thank you. Our third speaker today is Ed Miller. He is a researcher from the Center for International Corporate Tax Accountability and Research, who works with unions and other organizations both in Aotearoa and across the world. He uses his research to help win better working conditions and progressive policy reform. Please welcome Ed Miller.
Wow, that's a bit of a hard act to follow. Hey, kia ora koutou, thank you so much for welcoming me into this space. I live up north, so this is my first time coming to an Auckland Palestine rally in 2024, but I was here in 2014 during Operation Protective Edge. I remember singing in our thousands and our millions, we're all Palestinians around the corner of the US Embassy, and nowadays, Gaza never leaves my thoughts. Thank you very much. For the past year, I've been disgusted with the complicity of Western governments and Western corporations willing to let violations of international law continue and be facilitated. But at the same time, I've also been inspired by the communities of organized resistance that have sprung up spontaneously and that are willing to not just oppose these violations of international law, but find creative ways of disrupting them and making sure that the business interests that try and invest in and profit from apartheid realize that there is a cost to these actions and that we will make sure that they pay this cost. A couple of weeks ago, the British bank Barclays decided that it was going to invest from an Israeli weapons company called Elbit Systems, following months and months of concerted, sustained campaigning from UK Palestine Action. They've also been dropped by their lobbying company as well, who no longer want a taste of Elbit Systems. Unfortunately, if you pay tax in this country, or were paying tax about 7 or 8 years ago, we've been complicit in financing the expansion of this company, Elbit Systems. Our New Zealand Navy has a number of Navy frigates have laser systems that were installed by Albert Systems. Some of our naval helicopters have electronic defense systems that were installed by Albert Systems. Unfortunately, we have already supported the expansion of this company, but it is not too late to prevent these things from happening. One of the reasons why Israel is so excited about engaging in international military exercises like the recent RIMPAC exercise is because it's a marketing exercise. There are business interests that want to offload product, and we have potential paying customers with pockets of money. We have to make it clear that those pockets of money should never end up in the hands of people who violate international law and savage communities in Gaza. Unfortunately, New Zealand is becoming an increasingly important destination for Israeli exports. It was a record 223 million in the year to June 2023, and the area of greatest increase is turbojets and turbopropellers. We know about the very close relationship that exists between the aviation and military industries in Israel. We need greater human rights scrutiny to make sure our tax dollars are not complicit in supporting the companies that perpetrate these brutal crimes. Another area where we can have some influence is through the investments of the super fund. The New Zealand Super Fund invests public money to help fund the universal superannuation. It's the pension, right? There's $80 billion worth of money in there, and unfortunately some of it is supporting Israeli companies and companies that profit from the violation of international law in the West Bank. Currently, the Super Fund holds $30 million worth of investments in Israeli companies, another $6 million worth of Israeli bonds in the electricity company, and $183 million worth of shares of companies who the UN have said are facilitating the violation of international law in the West Bank. Shame! We need to raise the stakes on the super fund, but there's other ways you can raise the stakes as well, and that's why I'm so excited about the Don't Bank on Apartheid campaign, where you can use your own pension fund, your own income, the money that you are paid by your employer. You can tell the person that you've chosen to invest that money where you want them to put that money. That's your money, that's our money. That's the money that's going to sustain us when we retire. We want to make sure there's no blood on those funds when they turn up in our pockets at the time of our retirement. If you bank with the ASB, if you have a KiwiSaver with ASB, you have skin in the game. And let me tell you, the heat is already rising on banks, ASB included. Last year they made $2 billion in profit again. $2 billion at the same time that almost everyone in our communities are really suffering right now, trying to make ends meet. Can you imagine that the chairperson of ASB had the temerity, had the nerve to appear in front of the select committee on bank profits the other day and said, we need to make profits like this so that we can ensure that customers get cheaper banking services. Are you out of your mind and insane? We fund these people to manage our money for our retirement. We have an obligation to make sure there is not blood on that money when it turns up in our pockets. If you have an ASB bank account, then the time is ticking between now and November 29. Get in touch with your bank and tell them what you think of the investments in Motorola. Be nice to the bank workers. Bank workers rely on being able to sell products like KiwiSavers to support their income. They get benefits from upselling those products. If you're nice to your bank worker, ask them to communicate to their management that they don't want to be selling these products anymore. They don't want to sell KiwiSaver products that have blood on their hands either. We have some power here. There are more opportunities to do this. This is a great starting point. Let's send a message to all companies in this country that we're going to raise the cost of people who are trying to invest in or profit from apartheid. This is a tough economic climate. We're here to cut those costs for you and get rid of those assets. There's a lot of better investment opportunities in this country that don't rely on the violation of international law. Thank you very much.
That was great. Thank you, Ed. You guys have been quiet for quite some time now, so I think it's time for us to do some chants. Yeah. Right. Boycott, divest, we will not stop, we will not rest.
Boycott, divest, we will not stop, we will not rest.
Boycott, divest, we will not stop, we will not rest.
Boycott, divest, we will not stop, we will not rest.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Gaza!
Free, free, free Gaza!
Free, free, free Gaza!
Free, free, free Gaza!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
There is only one solution!
There is only one solution!
Intifada revolution!
Intifada revolution!
Revolution, revolution!
Revolution, revolution!
Intifada, intifada!
Intifada, intifada!
Yalla, yalla, intifada!
Yalla, yalla, intifada!
Yalla, yalla, revolution!
Yalla, yalla, revolution!
Kappa feitonu mato!
Ake, ake, ake!
Kappa feitonu mato!
Ake, ake, ake!
Kappa feitonu mato!
Ake, ake, ake!
Kia ora, thank you. Our fourth speaker today is Kate Stone. Kate is Tangata Tiriti co-conveyor of Justice for Palestine and one of the organizers of the ASB Divest and wider Don't Bank on Apartheid campaigns. She will be giving us an update on the ASB campaign. Please warmly welcome Kate. Kia ora koutou katoa. Assalamu alaikum. He mihi nui ki ngā mana whenua o tēnei rohe. He mihi nui ki ngā tangata whenua katoa i tēnei wā ua. He mihi nui ki ngā whānau o Paratihini e tū kaha ana. He mihi nui ki a koutou katoa ko hui mai nei i tēnei rā. Kia ora koutou, ko Kate Stone ahau, he kaimahi o Justice for Palestine. I'm here to give you a bit of an update on the ASB campaign and where we're heading. But first, a little bit of the whakapapa. This campaign is drawing on a history of lessons around non-violent resistance, boycott, divestment and sanctions, from Parihaka to apartheid South Africa, and responding to the Palestinian-led BDS movement and the call for targeted BDS campaigns. This campaign is about targeting and concentrating our efforts to cut off the sources of funding that maintain Israeli apartheid, genocide and ethnic cleansing, all of the things that Cole has told you about today. We're doing this because we don't want our KiwiSaver dollars, we don't want any of our dollars being channeled towards Israeli apartheid. And we know there's data that shows that the vast majority of New Zealanders don't want their KiwiSaver dollars invested in human rights abuses. But we also know that since the war began in Gaza, those investments have increased. The investments in Israeli apartheid have increased since October 7, 2023. That is a disgrace. We're also doing this because, as Ed has just told us about, there is power in us coming together collectively to leverage our power as customers so that we can win. And we need a win. We're calling on ASB to divest by 29 November, or their customers will leave in the thousands. In just the last 6 weeks, over 6,000 people have signed the petition calling on ASB to divest. If you haven't signed that petition, you can sign it today. Almost 2,000 of those people are ASB customers who have committed to leaving ASB if they don't divest from Israeli apartheid by 29 November. And hundreds of those people have written directly to the CEO of ASB, Victoria Short, to tell her just that. And in response, ASB has started sending their stock reply. And they said that their investments in Motorola don't meet their exclusions criteria.
Well, these exclusions criteria include that they need to be considered against the UN Global Compact principles, which include that businesses must ensure that they are not complicit in human rights abuses. Well, we have the receipts. Cole has just told us they are complicit, they are invested in human rights abuses. Shame!
Shame!
But more importantly for us, one of the other policies is that they can divest where there is strong customer support, that customers object to their investments in a particular company. So whānau, that's really important. That tells us that we have the power, and in particular, ASB customers have the power to force ASB to divest from Israeli apartheid. So we've been working on building this movement, growing the number of ASB customers who are committed to switching banks if ASB doesn't divest. Last week we ran a National Week of Action with friends and allies from across the country, organising many actions from Otepoti, Ototahi, Whanganui, Palmerston North, Whangarei, Auckland, Poneke, all over the country. Over the course of that week, we managed to increase the signatures on the petition to 2,000. And you know what? ASB shut their branches, they closed their doors, just because a few of us were there trying to inform and engage with their customers. To be clear, that's not what we intended, and we were concerned about the impact of that on vulnerable customers. But what it tells us is that ASB is taking notice, and we need to keep the pressure on. And just this week, we got further confirmation that ASB is taking notice. And I'm just going to invite Ricardo to come up and tell us a little bit more about what happened in the Finance and Expenditure Committee.
Okay. Kia ora koutou. So first of all, just want to acknowledge the amazing effort you've all taken to put the feet to the fire in ASB. And this week we had the CEO of ASB fronting up at the Finance and Expenditure Committee, because we have an inquiry around the lack of competitiveness when it comes to banking. But the truth is, the issue is in one part lack of competitiveness, but the other one is banks putting profit above all else, including human rights. And in that committee, we asked ASB why they continue to invest in Motorola and when we could expect for them to divest. And it was really clear when we asked those questions that actually ASB has been caught off guard by the big growing grassroots movement for ASB to take action, because they gave us these empty platitudes around how they were looking into it, but they couldn't even tell us the timelines that they had to properly divest. And then the media followed suit and asked those questions. Through this inquiry, we'll be making sure to put pressure on ASB and other big banks to finally put an end for their actions of putting profit of people above human rights and international law. And looking around at the Finance and Expenditure Select Committee, it was so clear seeing that the same politicians who are the biggest Zionists, the biggest supporters of the apartheid, also happen to be the same politicians quite comfortable undermining Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Because all these issues are connected. The same people who are enabling and defending ASB's actions are the same people putting the Treaty Principles Bill forward. So with that, I think if it wasn't for the grassroots campaign and the interconnectedness of all of us doing our part, ASB would be continuing to get away with literally enabling a genocide. So kia kaha, toitu te teriti, free Palestine, and let's make sure ASB divests from Motorola. Kia ora.
So as you can tell from what Ricardo's just told us, ASB reckon they can run out the clock on us. But we're not going to give up. We're going to keep the pressure on. So over the next week, we're going to be growing our campaign. We're going to bring on more ASB customers who are going to commit to switching from ASB if they don't divest by 29 November. And we need all of you to get out there and help us build this movement. And then in our last week, before Divestment Day on 29 November, we're going to be reaching out to all of those ASB customers and making sure that they are ready to switch. Because we want ASB, we want all of the banks to know that we mean business. And once we're finished with ASB, we'll be moving on to our next target until it becomes completely untenable for banks in New Zealand, for all finance companies in New Zealand to be invested in Israeli apartheid. Divest now! Divest now! Divest now! Divest now! Divest now! Divest now!
Divest now!
Kia ora, thank you Kate and Ricardo. Our final speaker for today is Georgia. Georgia is Tangata Tiriti Ai, is a union worker and community health advocate. They are an ASB customer who was shocked to find out about the bank's investment in apartheid and wanted to do something about it. Please welcome Georgia.
Kia ora koutou. Ko Georgia tōku ingoa. I'm an ASB customer of over 10 years, and I want to share with you today why I will be switching banks if ASB refuse to divest from Motorola by 29th of November, the International Day of Solidarity with Palestinians. As an ASB customer, I expect my money to be invested in a financially and ethically responsible manner. So I was appalled when I discovered ASB invests in Motorola, a company that facilitates the IOF's daily violations of the human rights of Palestinians. Here and around the world, investment funds are divesting from companies due to their role in Israel's illegal settlements. Which begs the question, why is ASB so hesitant to divest from Motorola? When I emailed the bank CEO, Victoria Shaw, about my concerns, the response I received was laughably poor. I was told ASB has a responsible investment approach, and investments are assessed in a process called the exclusions framework. However, the apartheid complicit Motorola did not meet their exclusion threshold, because for ASB, international law is apparently something you only need to consider, not follow. Watch out ASB, your capitalism is showing. Shame!
Shame!
Many of you, like me, are ASB customers. And like me, you may be feeling a little bit whakama that your KiwiSaver is funding the oppression and human rights violations of Palestinians. Shame!
Shame!
Like me, you may have had the very reasonable expectation that your bank or KiwiSaver provider would invest your money with a conscience. But our eyes have been opened to the unfortunate truth, and once we have seen these systems of oppression, we cannot unsee them. What matters is what we do next. There is no shame in being an ASB customer whānau. In fact, we are in a very unique position to use our position as ASB customers as leverage to pressure ASB to do the right thing and divest. So my next question is, who here is an ASB customer? Can I invite you to the front, please? Come join me. Don't be shy. There might be a few of you at the back. Etifano, we have the power as ASB customers to put the pressure on ASB and send them a crystal clear message. Divest or we switch. Together we will win. And now, a little glimpse into ASB's future if they refuse to divest. Someone has some scissors. Would anyone like a card to chop up? Can I interest you in a card? Oh, you don't have hands to... Yeah, awesome. Anybody else for a card? You can hold a card up. Amazing. Yeah, break it. I'm not strong enough to break it. I might need some scissors. Amazing. Thank you, Kate. Okay, let's go. Ready?
Die this now! 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 Die this now!
Oh, yes. Can the people with the letters please stay up the front and maybe just scooch in a little bit? ASB, can we have you all come this way, please? Amazing. Kia ora, thank you everyone. I'm not sure why I'm passing this on.
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free! Ake, ake, ake! Ake, ake, ake! We are the people! We won't be silent! We are returning soon, 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 soon! Raja! 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 Raja!
Kia ora, you guys can go now. Thank you. Thank you to everyone that was brave enough to come up. Before we end our rally, Mila's going to give us a quick update on the upcoming events.
Thank you. Kia ora, salam alaikum. Who here is an activist? And I keep on saying, activists take action. So tomorrow, there's a bike ride. It starts at St Patrick's Square, Wyndham Street at 10:50, and it's going to do a ride by David Seymour's Corners in Parnell Newmarket. So if you have a bike, and you want to join in, have a look at that or think of that. If you want to visit David Seymour, he wants us to go and ask him questions. Come up and take a photograph of the list of sites and the times where he's going to be tomorrow. We tracked him all of his sites last week, and he was asked every time, what is your position on Palestine, apartheid, and genocide or crimes against humanity? So we welcome you to ask more questions like that of David Seymour. He wants to ask you a question. He wants you to ask your questions. Next Saturday there'll be a rally. We have to work out exactly where. I'm told Pittamath is going to be used, so keep an eye out for that. Now remembering, you keep on hearing November the 29th. November the 29th is the UN International Day of solidarity with the Palestinian people. And we have asked, around Aotearoa, we have been asking councils to fly the Palestinian flag on that day. in Auckland. Dear Mr. Mayor Brown, we asked him and he refused. So like we have done in the past, we will go to the clock tower at Aotea Square, 12 o'clock on November the 29th, and we will raise the Palestinian flag. So join us at 12 o'clock. In the evening, Maha, one of our Palestinian seniors, is organising an event at the Fickling Centre at 7 o'clock to commemorate the UN International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. So come along, look from the PSNA newsletter, that event will be promoted, and have a look for that. November the 30th is the rally and march from Britomart to commemorate the UN International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. December the 11th is a petition going to be presented in Wellington. That's a Wednesday. Difficult for us to be there, but if you've got the ability or you need to visit Wellington, feel like joining in. There'll be a march and then it'll get to Parliament and then the petition will be delivered. So remembering, activists take action. There are 3 things that we are doing. The ASB divest. If you haven't signed the petition formally, you can physically you can do it, or you can come across and scan the QR code for those who've got cameras and sign that online today, right now, before you go home. Take a photo of it so you can show your friends the QR code to go to actually sign. The Obella campaign is running. If you want BDS stickers, you can come to the table and get a bunch. Take as many as you like. There are 150,000 printed. We are not running out. Put them on bus stops, poles on the street, on Obella products if you want to. And the last thing, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. We have sent almost 400 letters to every MP in Parliament. So what we want people to do is write a letter to someone, one of the MPs, on an issue that you're angry about. Erica Stanford for refusing to allow the humanitarian visas to bring our Palestinian whānau to Aotearoa. But just as disgusting, she still allows 200 Israeli soldiers to come to Aotearoa. To come to Aotearoa on working holiday visas every year. To rest and relax after implementing apartheid, a crime against humanity. Carrying out genocide, a crime against humanity. And they travel on our public transport, come into our squares, sit on our beaches. 200 genociders come here each year. So, there are a whole lot of other things you can write about, but that one, to Erica Stanford, CC'd to all MPs. A lot of the MPs won't read every letter, but their secretaries tell them that you are getting letters every week on the Palestinian issue. So I'll say once again, who is an activist? And I'll say, activists, take action. Thank you.
Kia ora, thank you. Just to add to all of the other events, Cole will be sharing some of his artwork, videography and his footage from the West Bank on Monday, 7 p.m. in the Arts Building at Auckland Uni. And now for the closing remarks. There is a table just over there, on the left side, over there, where the girls are holding the big posters. There's paper petitions on the table, there's online QR codes, so please go and visit that table before you guys leave. Fill out the complaint forms and speak to a camera or social media as well. Get creative with the posts. And to end our rally, we're going to have a closing karakia by Farah Liam.
Tuatahi, I just want to, I think we should give a round of applause to all the kai kōrero today, Nadine, everyone who's spoken today, homai te pakipaki. Also, Neil, all the Palestinian Solidarity Movement, they're all volunteers. We need to homai te pakipaki for them too. For those of our Palestinian whānau that were on our march on Thursday, ngā mihi nui, whakamihara for your tautoko, your support. We really appreciated it. I had my two flags walking across that bridge, and I was so proud to be standing up for Toi Tu Te Tiriti and also our Palestinian whānau. Toi Tu Te Tiriti! Toi Tu Te Tangata! Toi Tu Te Tangata! Ka whawha tonu mātou! Ake, ake, ake! Ka whawha tonu mātou! Ake, ake, ake! Toi Tu Te Tiriti! Toi Tu Te Tiriti! Toi Tu Te Tangata! Toi Tu Te Tangata! Free, free, Palestine! Free, free, Palestine! Free, free, Palestine! Free, free, Palestine! Okay, whānau, I'll just bring us into a clear space for a karakia. Kia inoi tātou. He whakaitanga e tēnei te kaupapa kua e. Tēnei te wānanga kua e. Te mauri o te kaupapa ka whakamoia. Te mauri o te wānanga ka whakamoia. Koa ki ronga, koa ki raro. Haumi e, hui e, tae ki e. Okay, see you all next week. Ka kite.